Hey guys, welcome to my pickups video of October 2022. Let me tell you, this month is RPG heaven, let me tell you. So let's go and get into it. If you want to get to the pickups, go to this time code here, or it's even time-stamped down in the below there for you guys if you want to get straight to the pickups here, because I want to talk about something that happened earlier this month that I can't tell you how happy I am about it, and which is this masterpiece right here is getting a remake. I know that it has been like rumored for like a while now that, you know, this game or like something within the series and Bloober Team was working on it, but it's like I didn't believe it at all. It's like I don't believe in like rumors in like the industry until like I actually see it for myself and all that, but oh my god, it's real. That reveal trailer looks so beautiful. I just can't tell you how happy I am, because if you guys don't know, Silent Hill 2, the original one here, it is my second favorite game of all time. Just behind that masterpiece right there, my favorite game, Metal Gear Solid. You know, coincidentally, that my two favorite games ever is both owned by Konami, and you know, we all know like how they are these days. But they are thankfully doing something very good, that they're not only is Silent Hill 2 remake, but they revealed a Silent Hill F, which I believe is going to be the next mainline entry in the series. There is another one that it's being made by the developers that did Stories Untold, and there was another game they made that I don't remember the name of, but I did play Stories Untold years ago, and that game I absolutely loved. It was quite awesome. And Christopher Gans, whatever, who was the director of the first Silent Hill movie, which I had like the first one down here because I got my original DVD copy back earlier this month from my mother's. Like, wow, she actually still had that. But yeah, there's going to be a new Silent Hill movie by the original director of the first movie, you know, the good one, not the god-awful worst movie of all time, Silent Hill Revelations. That movie just is so god-awful. Like, I never watched it, but like I seen enough clips and reviews of it. It's like, it is awful. Like, how did they even pass that to be an actual movie is beyond me, but well, whatever. But there is also another game that from how like they described it was going to be like you will be choosing options along with other players as well to like dictate how the whole game, or how they described it, in interactive media is going to play out. But nonetheless, though, it's great. This series seems like it's making a comeback and all that. And though I will say, I am skeptical of Bloober Team, though, because they are the same developers of Layers of Fear, Observer, and probably the most recent thing that they were really known for is The Medium. Layers of Fear, I honestly don't like. It got really boring. It got real cheap. That it was just so over-reliant on jump scares that I just didn't care for it at all. Observer is like a step up from what I've heard, though. It's like I do actually own the game, but I haven't like played it yet. The Medium was really cool, where they did a great job of like having two separate dimensions in that game, kind of, you know, similar to how Silent Hill does it with, you know, the fog world and the other world. Though I've also heard people say like, yeah, like the way that they did that was pretty cool, but like other things in the game like ended up being meh from what I heard. Haven't played it yet for myself though, but I will one of these days. So yeah, they have Bloober Team, from my understanding, they are a good bunch of developers, but they haven't had like the one game that was like a big wow factor that they have made so far. They haven't made anything terrible, don't get me wrong, but just for them having they're going to be working on this masterpiece right here, and like listening to like interviews of them and like all the statements they've made in forums, like they are really, really passionate about this franchise. So I'm sure, like, you know, they have what it takes to like work with this, especially, you know, I'm sure they totally understand, just like all of us, for like what makes Silent Hill 2 amazing. So yeah, we'll just have to wait and see how it all turns out, but nonetheless, oh my god, Konami's doing something with Silent Hill after, oh my god, how long has it been since like the last good one, which was, like, to me, Silent Hill 4 The Room. Origins was okay, but had like a lot of like, why is this thing in the game, like huge maps for like some buildings, and the feeling like you're a literal a huge carrying bag for a bunch of CRTs. And oh, what else? Shattered Memories. Well, it was, I like some ideas it had though, but god, it was so disappointing for me. Shattered Memories was. Downpour, I'd say, is like probably like the best, but it is so rough to play that game because of how broken it is. And Homecoming is Homecoming, where it's like I can see like there's like good stuff in Homecoming, but god, like the combat and like other things, like they got completely wrong of what makes Silent Hill and all that. So that's why, to me, the last good Silent Hill game was Silent Hill 4 The Room, which that was what, like 2004. So yeah, it's been almost like 2 decades that we've had like a proper good Silent Hill game, and I swear this remake and Silent Hill F better be good. It's been way too long since we've had anything from this franchise that was worth our time, though. I still believe there's like good stuff to come, like you could still enjoy like the Western developed games and all that, but they just don't hold a candle to the original Team Silent games with Silent Hill 1, 2, 3, and 4 The Room, of course. But yeah, I just wanted to put that out there. I am excited. Let me know what you guys think about it. If you're a Silent Hill fan, or if you haven't played any of the games, because I can understand, because still, like, just at least buying like the PlayStation versions of the games is just so expensive these days. I'm just glad I got my copy of Silent Hill 2 like way before 2020, though, before like prices for all games just skyrocketed, of course. But please let me know what your guys' thoughts on it. I'm curious to know of like where you think these projects are headed, what they could become, and all that. And also, if this potentially could be your first time jumping into the series with like the SH2 remake, or just whatever other first thing that would come out from all of these projects that they're working on. So yeah, with that said, let's get to pickups. Why don't we, finally? So the first thing here, this this is got like the, let's see, 1, 2, 3. This is going to be the 4th time I have picked up this game here specifically, which is Persona 5 Royal. This is considered like a definitive edition, you could say, of this game. That it came in like a steelbook here. Yes, I have a protective case over this because I don't want anything to be damaged with this here. But I did order on Atlas's store. It's called the One More edition, where they're going to send you this first, which they shipped this out like a few weeks ago. But the rest of the contents of this collector's edition, it's in like a treasure chest that you would come across when you're in the cognitive world in the game, where it was like just like treasures that gave you like good like loot and all that stuff. But yeah, they base it off of that, and plus it's got a bunch of extra stuff in it that I just don't remember all of it. But nonetheless, wanted to get it that I have, you know, this, the PS3 version, the original PS4 Phantom Thieves edition. Oh wait, no, the Take Your Heart edition, and then the later first version of Persona 5 Royal Phantom Thieves edition. So yeah, that's 2, 3, 4, 4 times I have bought this game. I don't care. I love this game because if you guys know me, I love Persona. Persona is just such a masterpiece of a series that I'm aiming to get every single game that they've released in this franchise. But yeah, nonetheless, though, very happy to get this. Again, of course, I don't care. Like I said, I love this game. Atlas, you deserve all the support for this amazing project right here. But please let this be the last time you do anything for Persona 5. Like, it's run its course now. It's time to now move on to Persona 6 IMO. It's like, yeah, I know I'm a sucker for this here, but it's time to move on to the next project for this series right here. So yeah, that's that. Alright, given that it's October, I always feel the need to just play, you know, horror-related games or just any Halloween-type games in general. So this one, I'm really happy to get this back here. This is like a good, like, Halloween-themed game, in my opinion. I used to rent this game so many times back then that I never owned it until now. It's Jersey Devil. This game, it is a 3D-based platformer, kind of similar, you know, your Mario 64s and all that. But what sets it apart is you have like a hub world. There is, I think, 5 different areas you can go to, but each of these areas has 2 pathways you can take. And you have to like get through the level, of course, but also like rescue hostages from like the main villain in this game, who's like an evil scientist that was experimenting on a bunch of like vegetables, and like years later makes them go on a rampage in New Jersey, and then you play as Jersey Devil, who's like a mythical creature from like some, I don't know, some like story from like many centuries ago. It's like, I don't remember it though, but they did base it off of like the actual Jersey Devil. I recommend you guys look it up though. It's kind of interesting for the inspiration that they took for this game here. But yeah, this game, well, it's got problems for like how like accurate it is for the platforming sections. And plus, like, some of the level design can be really infuriating, but nonetheless, I had so much fun with it from beginning to end that I highly recommend you get this game. Interesting fact, it's made by Behavior Interactive. You guys may know them, that they are the creators of Dead by Daylight, you know, very popular multiplayer game, who is also working on some of the new Silent Hill projects that I mentioned there earlier too. So yeah, this was one thing that they made back then, if you're at all a fan of those developers. This is a Japanese import PS1 game. I didn't know this was a thing at all. I just saw this on eBay. It was like really, really cheap, and very happy to get it. It's Galerians. This is a limited edition of Galerians, so it comes with a normal release of the game in Japanese here, but it also comes with this extra jewel case, which is the Galerians visual book, and it has like a little like sleeve of some of the characters, which these are stickers actually, and then this right here, it's like a little art book of like the front cover of this jewel case. And then in the tray right here, these are all memory card holders for PS1 memory cards, as well as like pictures of the characters and all that. And they all fit in this, you know, little case and all that. Let me put that back in. So yeah, I just saw this on eBay for like a really, really good price. And since I am a fan of just any old survival horror games, I absolutely wanted to pick this up. But it did also come with, I have right here, these 2 memory cards that they were in like the case, but it doesn't close all the way though, that it expands the box out, so I want to take them out though so it doesn't damage anything. But yeah, you see this one here, it's got a Biohazard sticker on there, which, if you're not aware, Biohazard, it's the name of Resident Evil over in Japan though. And yeah, this was filled with a bunch of Resident Evil saves of the Japanese versions, and I believe this one right here was saves for Galerians. So I always love coming across stuff like that, like memory cards are included with like the games you get, and then you just go through them and see like the saves of like the previous people who've played it. That stuff is always just interests me so much. So yep, that's Galerians Japanese version. All right, this next one right here, there's another Japanese import. Now let me pull out my notes to properly pronounce this here. So yeah, this is a Wii game. Now what's interesting, this game, you probably already know what it is if you know anything about Japanese imports for the Wii, but this is the 4th game in this series, and for the longest time, this game has always been exclusive in Japan and only on the Wii, until much earlier this month, it was revealed this game is finally getting an international release and on modern platforms as well too. So in case you haven't guessed what it is already, but it is Project Zero Mask of the Lunar Eclipse, or its Japanese name, Zero Tsukimiha. No, it's Tsukimihami no Kamen. I believe I said that right. Or AK, this is really just Fatal Frame Mask of the Lunar Eclipse. Or also just Fatal Frame 4. How about that? Simple name for it. So yeah, this is the fourth game in the Fatal Frame series, or if you're outside of the US, you would know this as the Project Zero series. So yeah, good to know this game is finally getting an international release and on modern platforms as well. That it's good to know that like a lot of like these older titles, like they are finally getting re-releases, especially for like obscure ones like these that even like fans of this series, like they didn't even know like this game existed and all that, because they probably, some would have thought that Made in Blackwater was the fourth title, but no, this really was, and Made in Blackwater was the fifth title and all that. I still wanted to get the original Wii version here because, you know, this is what existed for the longest time, and plus I got it for a really good deal as well too, so yeah, that's that. Right, this next game, really happy to get this. This is, I think I only need like a few more games in the series to complete my set for it, but it is Twisted Metal Head-On Extra Twisted Edition. The Twisted Metal series, this is probably like the #1 PlayStation exclusive franchise that I am so desperate for them to make a new entry in this series. Like, I swear, with how common Battle Royale games are, or just, you know, how popular they have been since, you know, when PUBG first came out, I'm just shocked that Sony has not brought this series back, because it'd be a perfect time for it, because Twisted Metal, to me, is the original Battle Royale game. Because, you know, you play as all these different drivers in like a big map, drive around collecting weapons and shoot at missiles and at each other. Everyone has their own special weapons, and you fight to the last one standing. That's literally a Battle Royale game. So, Sony, seriously, why have you not brought the series back? Do it. Really desperate for it. But Twisted Metal Head-On, this is one of the I'd say this is one of the better games in the series, because it is meant to be like a sequel to Twisted Metal 2, which most people would say is either the best or the second best game in the series. To me, it's the second best. I think I like Twisted Metal Black more, but yeah, Twisted Metal Head-On, very good entry in the series. I do recommend you get the PS2 version, mainly because it's more accessible, and it seems like most people prefer it over the PSP version, though. Plus, it does come with an extra mode that you can play as Sweet Tooth, that you go in like this dungeon and you come across like these like items, and they basically play like audio recordings of the dev team, like talking about the game series and all that stuff. So yeah, there's that. Next game is Tales of Legendia. This is one Tales of game that I have heard mixed opinions on. I think this was the first one that came out on the PS2, and I think there was only one other one called Tales of the Abyss. Haven't played it yet, though. The Tales of game is another series that I am really itching to try one of these days, but nonetheless, though, I think I'll still enjoy this game, because most RPGs that I have played, like, I've pretty much liked every single one of them. Even some that have like serious problems amongst like big fans of like the series, the respective series that it's in. But for me, I just still like end up liking the games anyway. So hopefully it'll be the same case with this one here, though. But yeah, there's that. Right, these next two games here. These were both from the same eBay seller that I got these from, and I got them for a good deal, because it must have been one of those cases where like something was going on with the seller and he had to get rid of these, probably because he needed money or something like that, or it was like moving and just didn't want to deal with moving this stuff here. But nonetheless, this first one, it's Shin Megami Tensei Devil Summoner Raidou Kuzunoha versus the Soulless Army. Such a mouthful of a title right there. But yeah, this SMT game right here, this is the first entry in, I believe, is what's considered, no, it's not. I believe this is part of like the Soul Hackers series. But what you do in this game, you you basically summon, like, I think if I remember, it's like evil personas, and it's more like a hack and slash game instead of like the traditional turn-based game, the gameplay system that we were familiar with for the previous games before this one here. But yeah, nonetheless, this as well as its sequel have been exclusive to the PS2 still. They have not been re-released on anything else. Though Atlas has been going back and like re-releasing like all of their other older SMT games that were stuck on older platforms and just making them available on modern platforms again. But as of today, this and the second game still exclusive to the PS2. Therefore, they are the most valuable SMT games on the system. But yeah, saw it for a great deal. Absolutely had to pick it up. Speaking of, I also got Shin Megami Tensei Devil Summoner 2 Raidou Kuzunoha versus King Abaddon. Yep, got the second game as well from the same exact seller because, you know, I guess he just really had to get rid of them, I suppose. But yeah, more than less, it's pretty much similar to the first game. It's like a hack and slash SMT game compared to like traditional turn-based combat. Really look forward to playing both of these games though because they do look really fun though. Right, next stack. This first one is the only 3DS game that I got this month. I believe so. Yes, the only one that I got. This one, I came across like a very good deal on this. I got this for like half off compared to what it normally goes for. It's Monster Hunter Stories. This is a turn-based strategy RPG game, if I recall, compared to what the traditional Monster Hunter formula is, where, you know, you get yourself loaded with a bunch of equipment, go out in like an open world-ish area and just hunt monsters as you come across them. But this one, I think, like abandons that and goes for a straight like turn-based strategy system instead, though, with a whole story behind it as well too. Personally, I think I would enjoy that more, though, but, you know, not to put down the traditional Monster Hunter games. I do like the standard Monster Hunter games and all that, but it's just the amount of time you would have to put into those games to really experience a lot of it. It's just not something that I want to go through right now, but I do want to one of these days, though, because I do like the gameplay of the regular Monster Hunter games, though, but this just interests me a lot more, though, and was really happy to get it for a really good price. These next two here, if you guys saw earlier this month, the PS3 suddenly got brand new physical releases. And the first one is Shakedown Hawaii. If you guys remember Shakedown Hawaii, it was, I believe it was last year or 2 years ago, V-Blank, the developers and publishers of the game, they did the same exact thing on the Wii U that as of today, like, this is the very last physical release for the PS3, while they did the same exact thing for the Wii U, which I do have, let's see, both the standard and the deluxe edition right here of it. So yeah, they are just so hell-bent on just making sure they have the last ever physical releases for some of these old systems that I just love that, and I had to support them for that. That's awesome. But yes, they also did release Retro City Rampage DX. This was the first game that V-Blank made before Shakedown Hawaii. Both of the games are really, really good. They're basically like a 2D pixelated top-down view Grand Theft Auto games, so yeah, if you're a fan of like the older like Grand Theft Auto 1 or 2 or even Chinatown Wars, then you would definitely like these games right here. So yeah, had to pick these up though because that's just so awesome for them to do. Brand new physical PS3 games system that came out all the way back in 2006 that is long dead at this point, but here in late 2022, brand new physical releases. That's awesome. So props to V-Blank for doing that. That is really cool. I'm pretty sure you can still get both of these games on the one site that they changed to like selling their stuff on compared to their own store. But if you're at all interested, I do recommend you pick them up right now, though, because they potentially could be gone forever soon, though. But yeah, really glad to get those. All right, the next one here, this is the only OG Xbox game that I got, and this is one that I wanted for a long time for the system, because I am like a big fan of this franchise as a whole. And for a while, this was one of the more valuable games on the system, but over the last few years, it's just come down in price, though, surprisingly. And when I saw like an alert of a seller putting it up for cheaper than what it normally goes for, and I'm like, yeah, now's probably the time to pick this up. It's Jurassic Park Operation Genesis. This game, it's a park simulator game that, you know, takes place in the Jurassic Park universe, and you build up a park. If you've played the Jurassic World Evolution games, then you would know exactly what you're getting out of this game here. I know a lot of people said, like, at least when the first Jurassic World game came out, there was some things, like, it was lacking that this game did better in it. But, yeah, for the OG Xbox version of this game, like, for some time, it was, like, kind of rare and very valuable. Mainly because this is the better version of the game, and plus, it is still, like, a really fun game to play as well, too. Like, probably one of the best, like, park management simulation games that you can play, too. So, yeah, if you find it for a good price, highly recommend you get it. Alright, next game, it's Shin Megami Tensei IV, the Limited Edition. I have not played any of the normal Shin Megami Tensei games, but I did see this for a really, really good price. Did not want to miss out on it at all, and I would just have to get Shin Megami Tensei IV Apocalypse, which I believe is a sequel to this, like the events after this game here, I mean. And there is like a couple of other SMT games I would like to get on there, but most of them, of course, are expensive now given the current state of the 3DS in the market. But yeah, as soon as I saw this for a good price, like, had to pick that up without a doubt. Right, this was a really good score this month here. This one, it's Legend of Heroes 3: Song of the Ocean. If you are into the PSP, you know, at least as of today, this is the most valuable standard release game on the system. This was the last game in like a trilogy that the PSP had early in its lifespan, because after this came the Trails in the Sky series, or just the Trails of series, which I think is still going on today, or the last entry came out like a few years ago. The second entry in that series, I believe, did come out on the PSP, but it was only a digital release because it was still a really late release for the system. But nonetheless, so the original trilogy here, most people will tell you, like, it's not as good as the Trails in the Sky series, but this is still like a sought-after game, though, because, like I said, it's the most valuable standard PSP game. But it is still one that I want to play through, though, because, you know, I just love RPGs in general. That once I get like the other two games, then that's when I'll jump into this series. I notice that for me as of late, when it comes to like a series that has multiple entries, I'm always ending up getting like the most viable game first, and then I just like go down the list of like the most valuable to the least one. Like that's exactly what happened with the original Dot Hack quadrilogy on the PS2, if you guys see my previous videos on that. But yeah, really happy to get that for a good price. Next one, got this in yesterday, and oh man, so happy to have this. And this completes this series on the PSP for me. Shin Megami Tensei Persona 2-disc soundtrack bundle. This is the very first Persona game, obviously. That's a remake or like a remaster of the original Revelations Persona on the PS1. Comes with a soundtrack of 2 discs that I think it is the entire soundtrack of the game. Don't remember, though, because I haven't played through the first game yet. But, yep, this is the probably like the preferred way to play the first Persona game, because even this version, though, it's still like really dated for its mechanics, though. That's not going to stop me from playing it, though, because, once again, I love Persona. But yeah, like I said earlier, this is like the last game in this series on the PSP that I had to get to complete it on that system. And thankfully it is the limited edition as well too, though. So happy to have this right here. This is funny here. So, I did get this like earlier this week, and this is sealed. And I picked this up on eBay, and the seller was selling it for like the same price as if an open copy of this would be. I was like amazed by that because that meant like this had like a huge discount on it compared to what this normally goes for sealed. It's Fate Extra Limited Edition. The Fate series is one that I want to get into because especially for how much I've heard of it from my friends, though, that they absolutely love the Fate series. Though they did make plenty of games in this franchise as well too, and just saw this for like a really, really good price. And like I said, it's sealed. But I'll get like an ISO of it online or something, and then like play it on a modded PSP if I do care to play it, though, because I do kind of want to keep this sealed, honestly, because I just got it for such a good deal. So yeah, that's that. All right, this last stack right here, this was all pickups from Chaotic Games this month. And these last couple things here I literally just got today. But to start out, this first one, I actually meant to get this last month, but somehow during like checkout throughout last month with them, somehow we skipped over this game, so ended up getting this month instead. It's Dragon Ball Z Super. Haven't played this entry in the PS2 Dragon Ball Z games, but nonetheless still looks really fun though. And I do want to try to get every single Dragon Ball Z game that they released on the PS2, because there's a lot. And plus, just DBZ games during that time period, it's like, oh my god, they were so much fun on that system. Alright, now, a bunch of NES games here. Well, actually, let's start with this one first. This is my very first Genesis game. Yeah, I'm not kidding. It's just the Genesis, I never cared for it. Just like, personally, there's not that many games that I care much for on it, and plus, I hate listening to the audio coming out of the Genesis. It sounds terrible. Don't at me on that. I do not like how the Genesis sounds. But there's still like plenty of games I definitely want to get on there. And I've also decided that when it comes to buying Genesis games, I'm just getting loose cartridges. The complete in-box copies, well, they are way more common than like Super Nintendo carts, because they actually release them in plastic cases. They are still obnoxiously overpriced. So at least how it stands now, I'm only buying loose carts for the Genesis. And I'm glad that this was my first one, which is Phantasy Star 4. The Phantasy Star series, back at this time, basically was Sega's answer to Final Fantasy, pretty much. That nowadays this series is all just like an MMO online series with Phantasy Star Online 2, which has been going on for like more than a decade at this point, that they only brought it internationally like a few years ago, matter of fact. But the original ones before Phantasy Star Online on the Dreamcast, this was just a normal turn-based linear story RPG series and all that. Phantasy Star 4, I believe, is considered the best of the series, and Chaotic got it in, and after like some credit membership deals, just got it for a pretty good price, in my opinion. Alright, now for some NES games. This first game, this is such a hidden gem on the system. The Guardian Legend. This game is a perfect representation of like the best things that the NES could do. Basically what I mean is, this game has a perfect blend of many different genres in it. This game has shmup sections in it. It has like Zelda elements in it. It's got Metroidvania stuff in it. It's insane like how much stuff is in this game, just how varied the gameplay is. And yet all of it works so well. And yet this game is still really, really cheap. You can find it maybe like $10 to $20 online. I highly recommend you get this game. This is such a hidden gem on the NES. Plus, it's got really, really good music too. So yeah, if you're a fan of the NES, just 8-bit games in general, do not pass up on this game. This game is awesome. Highly recommend it. Next game is Adventure Island. This So the first Adventure Island game that we got, it's basically like a 2D side-scrolling game that you just chuck weapons at enemies as they come across you. So yeah, just wanted to pick that up. Next is Bionic Commando. This was a game, let's see, it was by Capcom, which they haven't done much with this series at all. If I recall, the last Bionic Commando that was released during 7th generation, if I recall, wasn't that good from what most people said. But the original one, though, I think it still holds up pretty well. It's just a normal platforming game with a nice, like, swinging mechanic that you can have the main character do in it. So, yeah, highly recommend you get it. It's still a pretty good platformer today. And a classic, Super C, or just Super Contra, really. This is, of course, like a sequel to the original Contra. I do prefer the first Contra over this here. Not to say that this game is bad, though. It's still awesome and a lot of fun to play. But it's like, I always preferred the first Contra, though, over this one, just because it feels a lot better to play compared to this. And I do like the level design in the first game compared to this one, too. And plus, it feels like fans agree with that, though, because if you try to find, like, any ROM hacks of, like, Contra games on the NES, like, they're always using, like, the original Contra game on there. But nonetheless, you're a fan of the series, do play Super C, though. Still a lot of fun to play. Next game is Trojan. So I played a little bit of this. It's one of those, it is like a 2D hack and slash type game, but man, is it hard, though. This is like the hitboxes are just all over the place and all that, but nonetheless, was still enjoying my time with it, though. So if you find it like really cheap, which I got this for like maybe like $2 or $3 and all. Plus, it was like a Capcom game, so it's like instantly sold it to me on with that alone. But yeah, nonetheless, though, this game's like it's meh, but nah, I still enjoy it though for what it is. Next one is Ikari Warriors. You could say this is like a Contra clone type game. Like, if the box art is like clear as day, like they are totally ripping off Contra with this game here. But nonetheless, still pretty fun though. They did make a second, third game for this as well too, but they're all equally fun though. So if you can find them for a good price, the first one here is still pretty cheap. Just the second and third one, of course, are just very, very valuable. But find them for the right price though. Do recommend you get it. Next one is Commando. This is it's like how do I describe it? You know, in like a Super C, where the one levels where it's all like top-down view, and you have like 8 directional movement, and just enemies keep spawning like all over the place. That's essentially what Commando is, but not as good as those levels in Super C, though. But nonetheless, I think you can still have some enjoyment out of this game, though. Not that good at all compared to, like, you know, Super C for those levels at all, but hey, it's like a quick game to play with a friend. I would recommend it. Classic right here, Blaster Master. This was the first Blaster Master game that we got, and they didn't return the series until, what was it, like in 2017. With Blaster Master Zero, unless, if I'm mistaken, they did release like some other title in between there, but like I never heard of it during that time frame. But man, the first Blaster Master game, still so much fun. You're in like a 2D plane as like this literal tank just destroying monsters, and then you'll have moments where you have to have your character get out of it and then go through like these doors, which then switches the game to like a over the head perspective with like 8 directional movement, and just it's got like some puzzle solving, or really it's just like a Zelda type of dungeon layout pretty much, where you're going room to room and fighting like bosses if the areas have them, and just unlock stuff to then proceed on to the next area and all that. So yeah, highly recommend you play it. They did do like a Blaster Master Zero, which is like the one that they released in 2017. I'm pretty sure is like considered like a remake of this. I haven't played this one all the way through though, but from what I remember, that's essentially what Blaster Master Zero is like a remake of this, though. But I still think it is worth your time playing the original version, though. Oh, I love this game right here. Spelunker. Spelunker, this is one of those few games where, like, you gotta be really careful with all of your moves. You're dropped down in, like a puzzle-like area, and even like the slightest mistake will kill you in this game. They did do like a remaster of this on the PS3 digitally. It's called like Spelunker HD. And recently, in the last few years, they did make a new entry in the series, which is called, I think it's called Spelunky Party, if I recall. It's like the same exact gameplay in this, where you have like a variety of tools, go through like these levels, but you know, if you do a single tiny little mistake, no matter how minor it may seem, your character is instantly dead. So yeah, pretty stressful to play through this game here, but very rewarding though if you do get through it. Next one is BreakThru. This is like a car combat game where it's on like an auto scroller for this vehicle that you're in, and you just, you know, shoot enemies as they come by, dodge any obstacles that's in your way. So yeah, still quite fun to play to this day. Next game is Section Z. If I recall, this is a 2D ghouls and ghosts type of game, if I recall correctly. It is made by Capcom, but if I recall, like the gameplay of what it is, though, is like I don't remember much of it, though, because I didn't play much of it. But nonetheless, it is like a 2D action game, kind of similar to say like Ninja Gaiden. It's probably the closest I could compare it to. But yeah, highly recommend you get it though. It's a lot of fun. Alright, these last two right here. I literally got these today, and we will end on a high note here. Because today, just like right after I got to work, it's like Chaotic, they just got these in, and I did not want to miss out on these, especially with like memberships and a bunch of stuff that I wanted to get rid of too. It's like I got these for a really good deal. First one is Dragon Quest VI Realms of Revelation. I haven't played much of the Dragon Quest games. I have played the 11th mainline entry, and I really, really like that game. Haven't beaten it yet, though, but nonetheless, this has been a series that I've been meaning to play through for a very, very long time. And most of the games, they've had like a lot of remakes on like the DS and the 3DS as well, but the DS has most of them, of course, and this is another of those cases where like older games on like some of these older systems since like early 2020 just shot up in value. But like I said, saw this really good deal at Chaotic, like after membership deals and trading credit and all that, I just had to pick up a copy of it. Right, the last one here is Dragon Quest V Hand of the Heavenly Bride. Most fans of the series will tell you that this is the best game in the series, Dragon Quest V. This was the first version of it that we got in the States, because previously it was only a Super Famicom game, if I recall. I think there was another version of this release. It's probably the iOS and Android version of it, but most people would prefer to get the DS version because, one, that's the first international version of it that we got, and plus, you know, you have normal button layouts compared to just a touchscreen and all that. But yeah, most people say this is the best game in the series due to like how very well done its story and like writing is for its characters. Its battle system is really, really good. The sprite work of it, as well as in Dragon Quest VI too, to keep in mind, is so beautiful. When I've seen like gameplay of it, it's like, wow, the animations of all that 2D pixel sprite work in the battles, like, wow, it looks so freaking gorgeous. So yeah, very happy to get this. It's not fun at all to find this game. In fact, finding like both these games here, I can almost never find listings of them online. Even if I do, it's only like one auction, and it usually just ends up selling for way more than what price charting suggests. But Chaotic, you know, sold them for around about what price charting would suggest. After membership deals on it's like got them for a price that I was okay with. So yeah, that will do it for this month's video. As you could see, it was RPG heaven, let me tell you. So let me know what you guys got throughout this month. What are your thoughts on everything we got here too? And also, happy Halloween by the time this comes up. So hopefully you'll have fun out there, parties, trick-or-treating, whatever. And after you're done with all that, make sure you play yourself some horror games, because I know I'm going to be playing some two specific ones behind me there because I've been dying to play those games. So yeah, appreciate it if you would rate this video, share it with your friends. Please subscribe for more content like this in the future. Until then, guys, I will see you next time.